Hey guys, what's going on? It's Sherrick here, and I've got the WWE 2015 Extreme Rules review for you here. Let's get right into it, and we'll see if my predictions were right or wrong. Anyway, we'll start with Neville versus Bad News Barrett. This was actually the pre-show kickoff match, and Neville beats the 5-time Intercontinental Champion Bad News Barrett in an amazing match. Hits the red arrow, which is always a pretty move. It's really one of the coolest moves I think in wrestling. At this particular time, and I'm really glad that they allowed him to use it and give him this time on the WWE network. Great match, really solid. Probably could have made it onto the pay-per-view in place of something else and moved that to the pre-show, but it is what it is. So Daniel Bryan is apparently well, not apparently, he was confirmed to be injured. They did confirm that Saturday, so he was moved out of that match, and I guess Bad News Barrett gets his Intercontinental title shot at a later date, unless they strip him of the championship, in which case I guess he's kind of, they might reward him the title. I don't know if he's got to fight for it again. Maybe he just drops it in favor of the King of the Ring, which is also coming up. I was a bit of a surprise as well, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But, yeah, Neville wins the pre-show match against BNB, and he is looking real solid. So hopefully they keep his momentum going, because he can be quite a fun guy to watch when they let him do what he can do. So the next / first match on the show / third or fourth match, depending on how you look at it, was Luke Harper versus Dean Ambrose in the Chicago Street Fight, and my prediction for it was a little true in that they let it get a little brutal, but then they kind of cut it short. Luke Harper jumps into some random SUV that's backstage, and of course they don't explain how he manages to get the keys to this SUV, whether someone was just leaving the keys to the SUV in the ignition or what. But he takes off with Dean Ambrose essentially jumping in at the last second before the car took off. And so there was a bit of a weird moment there where the match was sort of over, but there was no winner. There were no countouts or anything, so they just apparently fought in the streets of Chicago somewhere, and we'll get back to that later because it didn't end there. Following that up was the Kiss Me Arse match. It was Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus, and still got to kind of sigh on this one. It was a solid match, but the gimmick was just, it wasn't needed. There's no need for it other than really to give Sheamus some heat, and he can do that, on his own. He's done it pretty well. As an aside, his new theme is amazing. I really, really like it. Too Many Limes is gone, but it's a great theme. I really enjoy it. I think it works well for him going forward. Dolph Ziggler wins with a kind of a half cradle roll up out of a suplex, I believe it was, but he doesn't get the awarded stipulation in that Sheamus kept going back and forth on it, and then he low blowed Dolph Ziggler and then made him kiss his swamp arse, as he put it on Twitter or whatever. So the gimmick made the match kind of, the match was great, but the gimmick afterwards and the whole vignette afterwards was just kind of like, when is this going to be over? Because it kept going back and forth and back and forth, and so wasn't needed. Next match was the Tag Team Championship match. It was the New Day versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, and I was wrong on this one. I would have liked there be a bit more build-up. It smacks a little bit of shoving the New Day down our throats in a heelish fashion that they would go over, and it was interesting to see essentially Kidd and Cesaro play the face tag team in this one. Cesaro continues to impress. I don't know what the WWE brass has in their heads, but he needs a push far and far. They should have kept him with Heyman and let him do a bit more. I understand that he was with Brock Lesnar at the same time, but yeah, Cesaro is absolutely amazing. Probably my favorite wrestler in WWE right now. He's just a workhorse, and his athleticism and ability is unmatched by anybody. Hopefully they don't waste his talent any further, and he gets to go and have a long and amazing WWE career. But I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. If you can get a chance to see the match, please do. Just for Cesaro alone, because he does great. Tyson Kidd holds up his own. Natalya looked great. She even got a little bit involved in the match decision, but the New Day takes home the tag team championships. You can see they're kind of like a Bo Dallas heels a little bit in that same vein, just a little bit, but maybe that'll grow. I would have liked there to be a bit more build up if there was going to be a tag title change. It just seems like it may have been a last minute decision. Don't know. So the New Day gets to celebrate. They get interviewed backstage, and then we return to the Chicago street fight, where Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose crash into the set, and Dean Ambrose ends up essentially taking out the entire New Day inadvertently by jumping off the hood of the top of the SUV onto the New Day, aiming for Luke Harper, but Luke ran out of the way. Luke goes back out to the actual ringside area and gets attacked by Dean Ambrose, and after a little bit, including essentially filling the ring with chairs, Dean hits Dirty Deeds and gets the victory. It was an interesting match. I like the idea that they kind of broke it up by having them peel off, but again, just like my suspension of disbelief didn't make it all the way there. Like, who has an SUV that they just leave the keys in the ignition backstage that anybody could just take and go, and there wasn't a cameraman prepped and there wasn't a referee prepped, and we still really don't know what happened that entire time they were gone. Did they just decide to go, grab some Chicago hot dogs or what? I mean, that's silly, but it is what it is. After that, I've got listed here, but I can't remember which order it was in. John Cena and Rusev for the United States Championship in the Russian chain match. I was corrected by a friend on Twitter and told that there were Russian chain matches at house shows. Just this was the first actual televised one. It wasn't just something WWE made up. So John Cena goes over. Big surprise. I was really kind of let down. I felt like this was the weakest match of the night in that they didn't really use the chain too much. There was the convention of using it to keep the other person from scoring a thing, and there was the whole the forward momentum has to be broken or whatever, and so that cost a bit of confusion sometimes because a light would go on and then you had to debate on whether their forward motion was broken or not to determine if they could continue. John Cena goes over. It wasn't not to say that I'm like it needed to be a bloodthirsty kind of match, but it just wasn't as brutal. It just seemed kind of weak. Yeah, so weakest match on the card in my opinion, and yes, that does include the Divas Championship match, which I'll talk about in a second. But John Cena goes over, and it kind of sets up the final chapter in the Rusev and Cena feud, which either means Cena's going to go over and Rusev is going to find something better to do, or Rusev's finally going to get the title back. Who knows? I feel a little uncomfortable with the teasing of a breakup between Lana and Rusev because I think they're a really good team together. I think you should really keep them together. Maybe it's smoke and mirrors, but you got to keep them together. Don't break them up. She just works. She's amazing on the microphone, and she fits very well with somebody like Rusev. So keeping them together is probably in their best interest. But I mean, they've got writers, they've got plans, so we'll see what happens. Let's see, Nikki Bella and Naomi for the Divas Championship. Special shout out to Naomi for those awesome ring boots that change colors, the light up neon fade colors. Those are those are really cool. I thought that was a nice touch. Don't know how I feel about her new music yet, but I do like that she's got new music. Someone said that she was cosplaying Sasha Banks a little bit with the sunshades. I thought that was a little interesting. Didn't really need them, but decent match. I thought it was a little better than the Russian chain match in terms of ability. I feel like it got a little odd because Naomi is kind of the heel now, and for some reason the Bella Twins seem like they're faces now, and it didn't seem to be, maybe I missed it, there didn't seem to be much of a turn. It just all of a sudden was like Carnation instant face, so it was whatever. Brie helps her sister retain the championship because she got attacked by Naomi earlier in the match. So when the referee's back was turned, Brie kicked Naomi in the head, which set up the rack attack, which set up the victory. I wanted Naomi to win. I was kind of resigned to the fact that she would lose pretty early on in the match. Seemed like it was telegraphed, but I guess they are under the impression that the Bella Twins are the best thing that they've got going since AJ retired. So I guess they move forward with that. After that, Roman Reigns and Big Show in a last man standing match. This was my match of the night. It was great. I know Roman Reigns haters aren't going to like hearing that from me, but they probably don't care. They're probably going to dislike him regardless. I really liked the work that him and the Big Show put in this match. It made him look real strong. It made the Big Show look strong, which is something that you always want to do, especially when his primary gimmick is that he's a giant and he's strong and he's got a move called the knockout punch where people have literally not gotten up from getting just punched in the face by this guy. They've been out for a long time. I feel like they had a liberal use of the 10 count. It seemed like it was a bit much in some areas, but the way that Roman Reigns beat the Big Show was a good one. He actually he speared the Big Show through the Spanish announce table. He then toppled over the English announce table onto the Big Show and then stood on it and basically held the Big Show down for the 10 count. So it made Reigns look great. It made the Big Show look, strong. He essentially didn't Brock Lesnar the Big Show, which is not exactly what you want to do. And it sets up a little teaser that they had shortly afterward where Roman Reigns was doing the promo for Payback, and it may be like a Seth Rollins Roman Reigns championship match at Payback, maybe. So good match, really good match, really liked it. Set up the pay-per-view for me, so I can't really say much more than that. It was a really good match. And then finally the steel cage match, Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Kane is the guardian of the gate. He had a promo earlier tonight saying he's going to do what's best for business, meaning that it could be, maybe he's going to, cause Seth Rollins to lose because that's what's best for business. He didn't say he was going to help Seth. He just said he'd do what's best for business. The match went on pretty well. Randy seemed like he didn't really miss using the RKO too much. He even busted out a pedigree, which I thought was an interesting thing. They went with the idea of pinfalls inside of the ring instead of your standard steel cage match where it's just escape and you win. The ending was weird, and I think they did that on purpose. Kane got into the ring after Seth Rollins drop kicked the door, which hit Kane in the face. I think it was like he's all aiming for Randy and missed, and go on. And so Kane got himself into the ring. He ends up chokeslamming J&J Security, who followed him into the ring trying to help Seth beat up Randy. Then he chokeslammed Randy Orton, and then he chokeslammed Seth Rollins, and then put Seth Rollins on top of Randy, but Randy kicks out, and then Kane gets upset, goes for a tombstone piledriver on Randy, who gets out, busts out the RKO, which we'll talk about in a second, and then Seth busts out an RKO, and then he climbs out of the door and onto the floor, thus winning the match. The controversy goes with that the stipulation was that the RKO is banned. It wasn't supposedly just banned for Randy, it was banned altogether, so it's questioning whether Seth was allowed to use it. And it's also questioning, was Randy only not allowed to use it on Seth because he did use it on Kane? So it's kind of like which way do you go on this? And there was heard tell that I guess the announcers were maybe talking about that Randy's going to get another rematch because of it, or who knows? I mean, technically he used it first, so he should be disqualified by that, even though it's a no disqualification match, which makes it a little whatever. But then Seth also used it. So was it banned only for Randy, or was it banned altogether? Are they both at fault? Are neither of them at fault? But either way, the result that they were going with was that Seth Rollins wins the match and retains the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. As a follow up to WrestleMania, wasn't bad. It was a good pay-per-view. Like I said, the Russian chain match was the weakest of the night just because it was a little kind of, well, it wasn't a little. It was a foregone conclusion that Cena was walking out still the United States champion. They teased the Rusev-Lana split, kind of making an allusion to Mark Mero and Sable, kind of going back there. And The Divas Championship match was good. It was the Chicago Street Fight was interesting that it got broken up. The New Day winning the tag team titles was kind of a surprise, and we'll see what they do with that going forward, especially with Kid and Cesaro. Are they going after it? Are they going their separate ways? What, especially with the King of the Ring tournament, which I think it's interesting that they're bringing it back. I am excited to see who's in it because I think they haven't quite yet announced that, but I'm sure by the time this video goes up, it'll be talked about on Monday Night Raw. But we'll see who's in it, and I think that might temper my excitement or heighten it depending on who's in it and who and how they're going to run it. Because I believe it's going tonight on Raw, and then they're going to show the finals of it on tomorrow on the WWE Network with their huge week of programming that they've been advertising. So that's it. I think I did okay on predictions. I was wrong about Sheamus winning. I was wrong about the tag team title match, and I think the other matches were all called well. I think I said Nikki was going to win and all that stuff. So I think I was only wrong with the tag title match and Sheamus versus Ziggler. So that's it. Tell me what you guys thought about the pay-per-view in the comments below. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already for some healthy doses of delicious, nutritious content. And until the next video, I will see you guys right here on this channel. See ya.